Joining us right now is former U.S. Attorney General Michael Mukasey. And Mr. Attorney General, good to see you.
Good to be here.
Thank you so much for joining us. What's your reaction to these news developments?
Unsurprising. He invoked his rights, as he had every right to do under the Fifth Amendment, when he was asked to testify in front of a House committee. And if the FBI and the Justice Department want to talk to him, they're going to have to give him protection. And the protection is immunity from use of any of his statements, and possibly even from blanket immunity from any prosecution.
Does this tell us that this investigation has been a lot more serious than perhaps certainly the Clinton campaign or many people expected or was letting on?
I don't know what many people expected. It's been serious for a long time, and I think this simply confirms it.
I mean, the grand jury has been convened. It's hearing testimony in the case. How does this play out? I mean, give us the timeline in the coming months. What's your sense?
Well, interesting you speak in terms of a timeline, because the Attorney General, Loretta Lynch, was interviewed a few days ago.
On Brett Baer's show, yeah.
Right. And at one point said she wasn't going to be bound by any arbitrary deadlines. And, you know, the presidential election is not exactly an arbitrary deadline. But I think it was yesterday or the day before, Jim Comey was testifying in Congress, and what he said was that they were going to carry on the investigation thoroughly, and he used a number of other adverbs, but one of the adverbs he used was promptly. And he's not a man who chooses his words lightly, and I think that we will know what's going to happen here sooner rather than later.
I mean, you would think that the Democrats want it to be prompt, because they need to understand if she's the viable candidate.
Of course, but obviously, to the extent the Democrats support Hillary Clinton, they don't want it to be prompt if the way it's going to come out is with her on the wrong end of the V.
Of course. Now, if Comey were to recommend an indictment, I mean, that's hard to keep quiet, right? I mean, do you think there are those who are protecting Hillary Clinton right now?
I'm sure there are people who are inclined to view things her way, both within the Justice Department and outside. But if he recommends and the Bureau recommends an indictment, it's impossible to keep the lid on that.
What could Brian Pagliano tell us? I mean, he was apparently paid $5,000 in early 2009 by Hillary Clinton to divert her emails through her private server. What else can we learn from him? We
can learn what she said to him,
the conversation.
Yeah. We can learn who else he spoke to. We can learn, in particular, whether there were discussions of the nature of what was going to move over that server.
And that will educate in terms of how specific she was in terms of, yes, I want to divert the State Department. I want to go around government and have all of my communication, classified or not, private.
I seriously doubt that she put it precisely that way.
Right.
But the context is going to be all important. He can also provide documentation, if there is any. That's part of what he would be able to offer.
Is he volunteering everything he knows? I mean, since immunity can be granted against the will of the immunized witness, is it possible that he's not volunteering everything?
He would be out of his mind not to volunteer everything, because the only thing he has to lose is the possibility of being prosecuted for perjury or obstruction if he withholds information. At this point, it's in his interest to tell everything he knows and to answer things candidly.
Right.
He doesn't have to volunteer. He doesn't have to offer. But if he's asked questions, he has to answer them truthfully.
So how serious a development is this, do you think?
It simply confirms what I think many people have said before, which is that it's a serious investigation. It's an investigation that has serious national security implications, and that it's not going away anytime soon.
When you look at what happened with David Petraeus, this is the situation that a lot of people bring up all the time. Can we compare? Should we be comparing?
Well, there are a couple of schools of thought on that. Some people think they're directly comparable. Some people think that what David Petraeus did was more serious because there was coded information and he lied to the FBI. But some people think it's less serious because of the volume of what's involved here, the sensitivity of what's involved here, and the fact that in the Petraeus case, nothing leaked. He disclosed it to someone who herself had top-secret security clearance, and none of it made its way into her book. So nothing slopped over out into the public. Here, we have no such assurance, and in fact, people in the intelligence community believe I think with some justification, that her server was hacked by people whose interests are inimical to those of the United States.
Can she keep playing this down and sort of getting away with that? I mean, what kind of an impact do you expect this to have on the campaign?
Depends on what the antecedent is of this. If this turns out to be no indictment, then she will have played it very wisely. If this turns out to be a charge, then it's going to be devastating.
Yeah, well, we don't know. I mean, he said promptly, so a charge could happen. What do you think? At any time? I mean, what's?
I'm not.
You know.
I don't know how the investigation is progressing, and I wouldn't hazard a guess. But when he says promptly, I think he means what he says, and he's going to proceed as diligently and as quickly as he can.
He can't possibly drag this out until November.
I think it would be very unwise to do that.
Yeah.
And he's not an unwise
He would be criticized, for sure.
Put it mildly.
The whole process.
Right.
And maybe, you know, as the Clinton campaign says, they want this out before November. I mean, could that also be part of this? They think, look, this is not going to show anything, so let's just get this done with.
I don't know what they think. Obviously, they say they want it over quickly, because what else are they going to say?
Right. Yeah, for sure. Michael Mukasey, good to see you.
Good to be with you.
Thank you so much, sir. Appreciate it. The Clinton